So welcome to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over some past GCSE exam questions related to frequency tables. Now, as always, I'll include a copy of the questions that we go through in this video as a link in the description, along with any lessons related to this particular topic that go over the contents of this in more detail. Now, before we get started, let's just have a quick overview over what it is you need to revise when studying this particular topic. Now, the first thing is you need to know the difference between what is classed as a frequency table and what is classed as a grouped frequency table. And that's all based on the very first column. In the first column, if there's no groups involved, it's a frequency table. If there are groups, then it is a group frequency table. The next thing you need to know is the formulas to work out the mean of each of those particular different types of tables. Now, in a frequency table, you will have X, and then you'll have a frequency column. And what you then need to do is you then need to create an FX column, which is basically this column multiplied by the second column, which equals the FX values. And this is when obviously X is a number. The next thing you then need to know is work out the total of the frequency and the total FX. So this is going to be what we call sigma F, and this is what we call sigma FX. Now, the mean for this, for a frequency table, is going to be sigma, the total of the FX value over the total of the frequency. So this is the total FX divided by the total frequency. And this is a formula that you then need to know. Now, when you've got group data, so I've got X and you've got the frequency, what you need to do is you need to create a midpoint column and an FX column. Then what you then need to do is then multiply these two numbers together to equal the FX values. And then what you're then needing is the total FX, which is this here, which is now sigma F, and you need your total FX, which is sigma FX. So that's the total of FX, and this is the total frequency. And then the mean is the exact same formula. It's the total FX divided by the total frequency. And again, that's a formula that you do need to revise that is not given to you in the formula table, in the formula page rather. Now, the next thing you then need to know is to know how to find the range. Now, loads of students get this wrong simply because they use the wrong column to work out the range. Now, to work out the range, it's basically the smallest and the largest use values from the first column. And it's really important that you use the range is again the highest, take away the smallest value, but you're using the values in the first column, not the frequency column, which a loads of students go wrong. Then to find the mode and the modal class, that's basically the row that's got the highest frequency. So it's the row with the highest frequency. The median for this one, what you need to do is you need to first of all divide the total frequency by 2 and then find which column, or I should say which group, so which row this falls within. And again, there'll be examples of which that type of question comes up in the questions that we go through in this video. And the last one is know how to find the missing frequency from a table when you're given the mean. And again, I think this is the last question that we go through on this exam paper. So it's almost like a reverse question. Now, before we start working through this topic test on frequency tables, a little reminder, if you want access to these questions, all you need to do is just click on the link in the description. And also in the description, I'll also include some useful lessons that go over these topics in greater detail. So I strongly advise you watching those if any of these questions do not make any sense. So looking at question 1, it says the number of passengers on a train carriage were recorded over a 20-day period. And the question 1A is asking, calculate the range of numbers of passengers. So for this, it does say passengers, not the frequency. So it's the range of these numbers here. So the range is going to be 25, which is the largest because that's the one that has got a frequency. Take away the smallest passenger count with a frequency, which is 20. So the answer then is going to be 5. For 1B, it then says work out the modal number of passengers in the carriage. So this is for which row's got the highest frequency, and that's going to be 21. Then moving on to question 2, it says the table shows the weights of 40 students in a year group. Work out the class interval that contains the median. So here we've got 40. So 40 divided by 2 is 20. So what I'm looking for is the cumulative value where it goes into 20. So if they're all lined up in a row, like so. So here is the smallest person and here is the tallest person. Then I'm looking for the 20th person. So here I've got 5 people that are within 48 to 56. So then I've got another 7 people. So that gives me a running total of 5. And then that's going to give me 12. Then I've got 22. So you can see that the 20th person is going to be in this group here. So then the class interval is going to be 64 to 72, and just make sure your inequalities are correct. It then says estimate the mean weight of the student. So if I just get rid of all of this, and then what I then need to do is, as I've got group data, I need to create a midpoint column and then an FX column. So midpoint again is, if you're not sure about the midpoint, just simply add the upper and lower bounds together and divide by 2. So this has got a class interval of 8, so it's going to be 52. The next one is going to give me 60. The next one is 68. Next one is 76. Next one is 84. And the last midpoint is going to be 92. Then to work out the FX values, all I need to do is just simply multiply these two numbers together. And again, if I do that, so 5 times 52 is 260. 7 times 60 is 420. And then 680. Then 8 times 76 is 608. Then 7 times 84 is 588. And 3 times 92 is 276. So then all that's left for me to then do is work out the total frequency and the total FX. Now I know that the total frequency is 40. So all I need to now do is add up all the values in my FX column. So I've got 260 plus 420 plus 680 plus 608 plus 588 plus 276. And that gives me a total of 2832. So then the estimated mean is going to be 2832 divided by 40. Now, if this is correct, I should be looking at an answer that's close between 64 and 80, as they're the modal groups. So 2832 divided by 40 gives me an answer of 70.8. Now again, the reason why I know it's an estimate is because I'm using group data, which again is a very, very popular question. So I can write 70.8. Moving on to question 3, it says here is a table of weekly wages in a small kitchen company. Work out the median weekly wage. Now for this, because I've only got 10 numbers, I could easily write the numbers out in total. So I've got 5 240s. I've got 1 300, 1 340, I've got 2 500s, and I've got a 1500. So the modal median wage is going to be the middle number. So it's in between 240 and 300. And so 300 plus 240 is 540, and 540 divided by 2 is £270. Then says give a reason why the mean would not be a good measure of the average wage of a company. And again, something along the lines of, because all the numbers are there's a big range, is a region, and only use the mean when range is small or data is similar. You could also say that the owner's wage will distort the average as it's much higher, but something along the lines would be fine for 1 mark. And again, you could also say that there's quite a lot of labourers in the role, which again will mean that there's a lower mean than what's expected. Also, you could also say that they haven't got an even number of people in each of the positions, so therefore it's going to distort the average wage. Then looking at question 4, it says Sally made a table showing the number of siblings each person had in their class. It says calculate the mean number of siblings in Sally's class. So again, here we've got frequency data, so I need to create an FX column. Again, all I'm doing is just multiplying numbers through. And I can see that I don't know the total, so I need to work that out of the frequency. So looking at this, I've got 4 plus 10 plus 12 plus 3 plus 1 is 30. And then creating an FX column, that's going to be 0, that's going to be 10, that's going to be 24, that's going to be 9, that's going to be 0, and that's going to be 5. So adding this up, we get 34, 43, 48. So then the mean is going to equal 48 divided by 30, which gives me an answer of 1.6. Now you might want to round this up because obviously you can't have decimal people, so you could say 2, but again it's worth making sure you're noting that it's 1.6, and then you can round the number up to 2. Moving on to question 5, it says here is some information about the number of books read by a group of people in 2021. It says one of the frequencies is missing. The midpoint is used as an estimate for the mean number of books read, and the answer is 8.5. Work out the missing frequency. So if I start by calling this X, I can then create an FX column. So this is going to be 32. This one's going to be 7X. This one is going to be 240, and this is going to be 170. Then to work out the total frequency, well, that's going to be 46 plus X, and the total FX value, well, if I add up all those numbers, it's going to be 32 plus 240 plus 170, gives me an answer of 442 plus 7X. Now the mean is equal to the total FX divided by the total frequency, which in this case is 442 plus 7X divided by 46 plus X, and that equals 8.5. Now if I put brackets around that and move that to the front, to the right hand side, I get 442 plus 7X equals 8.5, 46 plus X, and that's my point there. So then if I expand the brackets, I end up with 442 plus 7X equals, now 8.5 times 46 is 391 plus 8.5X. Now sticking all the X's on one side and the numbers on the other, so I'll take 7X over to the other side, 391 over to this side. So 442 minus 391 is 51, and that equals 1.5x. So then if I then x is going to equal 51 divided by 1.5, which gives me an answer of 34. So looking at question 6, it says the speed of 50 vehicles was measured travelling along a country lane. Every driver travelling at more than 40 miles per hour is fined £60. An average of 200 drivers use the road each day. Estimate the total amount of money raised from the fines on the road each week. So for this, let's first of all work out of 50 how many drivers were going over the speed limit. So here you can see there were 3 out of 50. Now that's the proportion. So if I multiply that by the number of drivers on each day, then that's going to equal 3 over 50 multiplied by 200 gives me an answer of 12. So that's 12 per day. So then each week, if I multiply that by 7, is going to give me 84 drivers. Now, if the fine is £60 per driver, if I multiply that by 60, I get 84 times 60, which gives me an answer of £5,040. The next question then says the speed limit on the road is 30 miles per hour. The local council will consider placing a speed camera on a stretch of road if more than 25% of the traffic breaks the speed limit. Use the table above to determine whether there is enough evidence for the speed camera to be considered. So here we're looking at how many travelled more than 30 miles per hour. Well, that's going to be 13. So it's going to be 13 over 50. And if we convert that in as a percentage, so we times that by 100, that's going to give me 26%. So is that more than 25%? So the answer then is yes. So yes, there is enough evidence. And there we go.